So this is basically a no bullcrap review of Ryan Tedder's monthly course. Now, there's some things that I liked about it, there's things that I disliked about it, and believe it or not, I actually wanted to quit the course at one stage, but I didn't. I stuck it out to the end, and I'm grateful I did because I learned so many things, and it's changed the way I produce music forever, really. So I'm going to share with you that stuff later on. I'm going to share some of the pros and cons, and let's just do it, yeah? So one of the first things that I liked about it was just the quality of the course. Like, everything is super high definition, like it's super clear. There's cameras set up everywhere, so you can see Ryan when he's playing on his guitar. You can see him when he's playing on the piano. You can see him when he goes over and plays on the synths. One of the probably the negatives about that is, I think, the way they recorded the computer audio was actually from a microphone in front of his speakers. So you can kind of tell that it's not true audio from inside the door. It kind of sounds recorded from a microphone. It's not a deal breaker, but it definitely did take me out of the zone a little bit. And that brings me to the second one, and that is just how Ryan is in front of the camera. Like, he's such a nice guy. I kind of want him to be my friend, to be quite honest. Like, not just because he's an awesome songwriter, but just because seems like an awesome guy. He's confident, he's charismatic, he speaks very clearly to the camera, he looks at the lens, he explains everything that he does in a way, in the best way that he possibly can. Now, coming from me, I'm not a songwriter, I'm not an instrumentalist, and I'm not a singer. So, to hear the thought process of someone who is those things gave me another perspective on my own music. And that brings me to the next tip. Just witnessing Ryan in his own studio, like, you're talking about a Grammy nominated producer / songwriter here, like someone who's done it, made something of themselves. You get to see that person in their environment, see their flow, and see what inspires them. Now, just that in its own right inspired me and changed the way I produce music, because it snapped me out of my general thought process and made me think about things in a different way that I generally wouldn't think about them. All right, so pro number 4 is how fast paced it is. Now, you could see this as a negative maybe, depending on your level of production, but it's actually quite fast paced. Now, I've been producing music for over 10 years, probably closer to 12, 13 years now, and I've got a good understanding of music production. My songwriting was lacking, but my music production is actually okay. So I was able to keep up with the lessons, but what it did do, this is why I see it as a pro, is it forced me to work faster, because I kind of work slow. I might come up with an intro and then like, okay, that's cool. And then over like the next couple of days, I'll build something else. And this is like, you got to smash this out in like 10 days. You got to watch all of his content. You got to do all the tasks and then smash out this song in 10 days. And not just one song. You have to do 3 songs every 10 days. 3 songs over 30 days. But I kind of like that because it gave me this power that allows me to work fast, move forward, and not get bogged down on simple small tasks that I previously probably would have. Now, pro number 5 is like, it pushes you out of your comfort zone. Now, like I said in the previous tip, like that fast pace movement is definitely out of my comfort zone. I like working slower and then really being solid in the decision before moving on. But this kind of like makes you commit a little bit more. But one of the other things is, if you don't sing like me or don't play an instrument like me, then you might struggle. And believe it or not, this is why I wanted to quit, because Ryan, in every one of his songs, he sings, he plays an instrument, and that's how he creates his spark for every one of his songs. Now, I couldn't do that. So I'm watching him play his piano, I'm watching him play his guitar, and then sing like a freaking genius, like one of the most talented singers. Everything's on point every go. And his technique is to basically repeat that process. Now, I can't sing, so I felt like I couldn't use that technique to grow my songs. But what it did do was it pushed me out of my comfort zone to figure out a way that I could use that technique with my writing style. So in the end, I just came up with a chord progression, penciling in MIDI notes on my computer, and then I got some splice vocals, and then I used that inspiration to build the whole structure of the song. Now once I realized that's what got me excited to move forward in the course. And believe it or not, that's what stopped me from actually asking for a refund. So that brings me on to the next course, the amazing techniques that Ryan teaches. Now, I kind of used to produce in the way where I would almost fumble about until I fell on something or fluked something that sounded cool. And hey, don't get me wrong, that's a great technique to use. But Ryan uses the method and different techniques where he'll come up with a chord progression or something like that, or a melody or whatever on his guitar or keyboard. Then he'll set up the microphone and he'll just hum gibberish, the first thing that pops into his mind. And then amongst, he'll just loop it. And then amongst that, he'll find some amazing little bits that he builds into an entire song and then writes lyrics from that. And then it's really interesting to see that unfold. Now, I've been producing a few songs using that technique after the course and the ones that I did during the course. And each time I did it, I got better. So it kind of, before I did this course, I felt locked down. I felt like I was stuck. But after discovering this technique, I feel like I am able to grow as a producer and I'm no longer stuck in that position. So that there is priceless. Okay, so the last tip that I liked about it is the peer group. Now, the peer group is like, basically at the end of the day, at the end of the video task, you upload your task to the peer group, and then the peer group comment on your video or on your song, and you comment on other people's songs. And it's a great way to get a third perspective on your songs. But on the other side of the coin, this is my first con of the video. The other side of the coin is what, no offense to anyone in the peer group, but what credentials do these people have? Why should I listen to them? Because they're doing the course just like me. And I feel like I'm not qualified enough to comment on someone's songwriting or something like that, but I have to. So yeah, I'm not sure about that. I guess take it with a grain of salt. Whatever comments you like, roll with that. Whatever ones you disagree with, just brush them aside and move on. So the second con, and that is still to do with feedback. Now, in the description and the advertisement of the monthly course, it says that Ryan actually comments on people's tasks. And he's not going to comment on everyone's because there's 25 people in a peer group. But I actually didn't see him comment on one of his videos, on one of anyone's tasks. So I was pretty disappointed with that because it's quite a lump sum of money, quite a big sum of money to run through this course. And to even see him comment on other people's projects, I would have found valuable and I would have learnt from that. We didn't get that. So I was quite disappointed in that. So Ryan, come on, man, pick up your game a little bit, please. So I said before, the songwriting side of it was absolutely incredible for me. Might be different for you. To see Ryan produce and to see how much depth he goes into in that 10 days of the production song, I was really disappointed. He less focuses on songwriting, more focuses on production, but just skims over like a lot of things, does not go into anything like, doesn't really share EQing that much, doesn't really share compression that much, like just does things and maybe explains a little bit of it, but is so vague. Now, if you're a beginner and you don't have any understanding of how your DAW works or what each effect does, you're really going to struggle here. Okay, so the next con is Ryan uses plugins that you might not have. Now, I was lucky enough to have majority of the plugins, and most of them are pretty cheap, I'm pretty sure, but like he probably uses 10, 15 plugins that you probably never even seen in your life. And if you don't know anything about music production or your DAW, you can't figure out how to change that, like if you're a beginner, he'll use his plugin and then you're like, how do I do that? And you have to like go out of your way, you have to Google how to do it, YouTube how to do it. That's just so much more time already on the fast-paced course. Now that takes me to the next con. If you're like a beginner or a beginner producer and like pretty novice, man, you're gonna struggle hard because this course goes so fast. For me, it actually pushed me out of my comfort zone and I could keep up. But if you couldn't, you're gonna struggle and you're not gonna get that much out of the course. I would recommend, if you're in that boat, to maybe brush up on your skills, production skills from YouTube and that sort of thing first, just so you understand how Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools works, and then come and do the course later to learn those songwriting skills. Okay, so the last con for me is the mixing and mastering. What mixing and mastering? Pretty sure there's like 5 minutes on mixing and mastering. And all he does is he gets one plugin that you don't have, puts that on there. Doesn't really explain what it's about. He just says it's putting color on it, it's making it louder and that sort of stuff. Well, come on, man. Like, teach me how to do it. That's why I paid this course, because I wanted to learn how to mix and master my own songs. Now, once again, I had knowledge on how to mix and master my own tracks, and I'm happy with what I can do. But it would have been good to see it from an industry standard, like to see it from a professional who's done it and releases songs like this. So yeah, I was actually pretty disappointed with that. So in the end, it's like there's a whole bunch of pros, there's a whole bunch of cons, but I think it comes down to what you are looking for and what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are. So for me, my strengths were production, but my weaknesses were songwriting. And I found Ryan's songwriting to be super helpful. The techniques that I learnt from it, and just watching Ryan in his environment, in his zone, was absolutely priceless to me. And I'm actually looking forward to where my music's going to evolve using those techniques. On the other hand, if you're a beginner and you've got zero experience, you're probably going to really struggle to keep up with this course, and you're not going to be happy with the outcome. And you don't want to waste your money. You don't want to put like a couple of $100 into this and be disappointed. You want to put the money in and come out feeling good about it. So I think it's probably, this course is targeted towards someone with an beginner to intermediate songwriting skills and at least intermediate production skills. That way you can keep up with all the production stuff but still learn so much about the songwriting stuff. So I hope this video's helped, guys. That was just my whole experience running through the whole thing. And if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.